right. Cool, good to see you all. Let me mute this. So what we talked about, or what we worked on yesterday or Monday, was very, very slow breathing. We introduced this idea of spanda, of rhythm, and biologically, what tends to happen is our rhythms accelerate when we get stressed, physiologically, and when we calm down, our rhythms decelerate. And so, for that reason, slowness, right, as a theme, is so important in meditative culture and important to our well-being. And we can see the evidence of that in life, right? As we have evolved as a species, sort of, unaware of this internal state, unwilling to slow it down, our culture has wound up and sped up. And now everything is, second to second to second to second to second, and we like that. But it is corrosive to us. And so slowness is huge, and spanda is a yogic concept that just highlights the importance of rhythm in and of itself. Everything has a rhythm. And so what I wanted to talk about philosophically today wasn't just spanda, but something called the gunas. And so life moves rhythmically and also cyclically. And the yogis believe that it moved cyclically through essentially three territories called gunas. And the gunas represent the essential sort of expressions of energy. All forms of energy, whether it's atomic, whether it is biological, whether it is cultural, personal, or collective, everything moves through these three gunas. And so they are associated first with colors, but then with ideas that represent, these colors, or these colors represent the ideas. So it's black, red, and white. These are the colors. The first, black, represents an energy called tamas, T-A-M-A-S, tamas, and it represents lethargy, unconsciousness. In terms of physical matter, it represents solidity, right? So because the movement of, whatever the yogis perceived life to be actually made of was so dense and slow to the point of representing unconsciousness psychologically in terms of physical matter, tamas is what creates the solidity of the world, heaviness. And so when we experience that emotionally, it is depression. And when people are depressed, they literally don't want to move. They become heavy and stagnant and stay in dark rooms. So this is all, again, tamasic energy. And we will inevitably move into that space, whether it's, second to second to second, if we're very sensitive to ourselves, or, once in a while. The second form of energy is rajas, R-A-J-A-S. It represents, it's represented by the color red. And it represents passion, and it represents dissatisfaction, and in that, the desire to overcome a situation or ourselves or a problem. And this is the state of mind or the state of energy that humanity has found itself in, for better or worse, right? And so this is often where we exist as people. We have goals to achieve, so we're dissatisfied because we have this list of things we want to do or must do, and then we achieve them, and then we're happy for a moment, but then, we have more to do. And so rajas perpetuates itself. Eventually, we get so exhausted that we fall into tamas. And so if we break down our weeks, right, Monday through Friday, we are rajasic, and we're working, and we're doing all this stuff. And then Saturday and Sunday, we lean back into tamas, into a state of recovery, positive tamas, recovery, but also negative tamas, right? I just need to, recoup from the exhaustion of life. And then the final state is sattva. Sattva is represented by the color white, and it represents a unique harmony with the experience of the world. And it is represented essentially with the meditative state. And so when you're meditating and You're not really doing anything, but it feels like you're doing everything that is critically important. Life is allowed just to happen as you are, permitting yourself just to exist. That is a sattvic state. And the most beautiful definition I have encountered in regards to enlightenment or the goal of this practice in relationship to energy is that the enlightened being can feel all three states of energy happening at once. That in this moment I am tamasic. There's a part of me that is exhausted and sort of hopeless and recovering. And there's a part of me that is inspired and dissatisfied, but yearning to become more. And there's a part of me that is just sort of allowing it all to happen as it happens. All three exist concurrently. And this is the conversation of simultaneity. And so what we're going to do today is, as you meditate and you take these really deep, slow breaths, right? And so that's going to pull everything down into a sattvic space. I want you to recognize and label the shifting between tamas, rajas, and sattva. That in a flash, all of a sudden, it's like, I don't want to meditate anymore. I'm tamasic. I don't want to do this. I'm tired. I'm exhausted of this game. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, rajas. You want to practice. Your posture perks up. You remember you're trying to slow down your breath. So you slow down your breath. And then all of a sudden, sattva. You realize that you're not really doing anything at all, and it's all about observing the unfolding of your sort of biological and psychological experience. But the key point today is identifying those shifts, those subtle shifts within your body and your mind, and then labeling them. Tamas, rajas, sattva, black, red, white. And the more you can do that, right, the more you infuse your intellect with these ideas, the easier it is to recognize in real life. And in that, it's easier to interact with them, overcome them, work with them, whatever it is you might need. Cool. So these are the gunas. This is a fundamental sort of detail of the yogic world, the yogic physical world. And this is associated with a philosophy called Sankhya. It's the physics of the yogic mind. Strong seated position, hips tilt forward, spine is tall. Rest your wrists on your knees. Spread your fingers very wide. And then bring a random finger to each thumb. Tuck your chin in slightly, decompress the base of your skull, and then just work right now to build the physical experience. Try to lengthen your spine more and notice the alertness that comes from that. And so your posture is rajasic. Holding this form, because it takes second-to-second energy. It also creates second-to-second dissatisfaction, because it takes energy, and you're burning energy. But every second you decide to maintain your posture, it feeds a sense of pride. And in that, you want it, you don't want it. You like it, you hate it. That is the epitome of rajas. When your posture wilts and the arms slump and the spine curves and the head falls, that is tamas. And if there's no negative response to either or, somehow, paradoxically, you allow yourself to wilt while doing your best to retain your posture, that sense of allowance is sattva. Now slow down your breath. Think about what you worked on Monday. When we breathe unconsciously, as we do for essentially every hour of the day, that is tamas. breath of fire, kumbhaka, bellows breath. These are rajasic breath techniques. When we consciously slow down our breath and activate the parasympathetic nervous system, this is sattvic. And so we're working to build our intellect, to divinize our knowledge, to identify elements of the world that might not have existed previously. So you're thinking a lot right now. You're analyzing and observing every sensation, every thought, every idea. Does it fall into a tamasic thought experience? Does it fall into a rajasic thought or experience? Does it fall into a sattvic thought or experience? And because all three gunas exist in certain quantities within everything, you're never wrong. You're just learning to build complicated associations. Identify your relationship to your breath, your relationship to your practice right now through the idea of the gunas. Are you really trying? Is there an eagerness, a desperation even to do it correctly or do it better? Passion, desire, and in that, dissatisfaction. If so, rajas. Are you disconcerted today, over it today, even though you're here? Thinking of what you'll do next. If so, tamas. Now slow down your breath. Become more mindful of your breathing, and immediately there should be a surge in peace and tranquility, sattva. So at this point in your practice, with a visceral sense of all three, attempt to walk the tightrope of sattva by managing your physical breath. I neither reach nor pull. I gently guide my breath into peaceful rhythms. And in that, tailor my thought process, my responses, my judgment, and my analysis into something more harmonic. Again, the most brilliant definition of samadhi or nirvana or enlightenment I have heard was uniquely inclusive. And it used the gunas to make that idea more concrete. Enlightenment is when you can feel all three gunas occurring at once, simultaneously. It is an expansive acknowledgement that in this moment, emotionally, I am depressed, passionate, and at peace. In this moment, physically, I am material, I am heavy matter. I am organic, alive, and changing, and I am intangible. To breathe that in with every breath is perfection. To breathe that out with every exhale, perfection. With an inhale, reach your arms up and over your head, lengthen the spine. And as you reach, rajas, palms touch above you. Open the heart more. With an exhale, slowly bring your hands to heart center, keeping them there. It's the conclusion of your practice. Take the time to acknowledge the gunas as an idea, but also as a reality, as something to observe and experience. And then appreciate what that observation does to your perception of the experience. How do you feel now? Simply more connected or disconnected? Slow down your breath. Lift your thumb knuckles to third eye center. Keep the spine tall, focusing on the sensations of pressure, tingling, or vibrating that comes from the contact of your thumb pressing into the skin of your forehead. And focus, as always, focus with such intensity that other parts of the body start to blur out. With an exhale, release your wrists to your knees, random finger to each thumb. Externalize the mind, consider the world around you, and appreciate the gunas as you believe they would manifest. The world is unliving matter, unconscious material. The world is alive, and the world is also intangible. The human experience ranges from depression and disconcern to passion and desire to a strange harmonic acceptance and presence. We can exist in the past, we can exist in the present moment, we can exist in the future. To see all of those things deepens our relationship to the world we know. With an inhale, open your eyes. I am no longer meditating.